Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time today. So my name is Omar Fakri. I head sales for Middle East and Africa, based in Dubai. With me is Neil, who runs our MPU component division for EMEA. So this year we've been very heavily focused on our component products, particularly around high-end gaming at the show here today. So we have, as you can see on the outside, we have our Eyefinity setup, 5 screens running off X2 295 GPU, which is coupled with our 9590 water-cooled desktop processor as well. In addition to that, we have our latest notebook machines on display also, and we have 2 of our latest energy efficient machines, the E-Series 8370 processors as well. So we've been very highly focused on showcasing our best technology at the show here this year, and really to get some excitement around gaming, also to talk about some of the collaborations we've done locally with some of the gaming cafes, and how we're starting to work with the local communities here to engage and really drive forward AMD's gaming hardware.
What can you tell me about the laptops? Are there any new lines, new models that are coming?
Okay, so I mean, in terms of notebooks that we're experiencing in this region now, to be honest, up until sort of 6 to 9 months ago, most of the machines that you would find in this region were very much entry-level, very basic form factor, clamshell, and now we're starting to see the MNCs start to bring in other form factors other than your traditional notebook. So we now have a machine here by Lenovo, Flex 2. It has 270 degrees, turns round. We have a new Streambook from HP, which is SSD, very, very fast, very, very light, very thin, very good user experience. For us, it's all about bringing new form factors, and we're starting to see the MNC start to push this in this region. So if you take high-end gaming machines now, we have GPUs with Alienware, so obviously made by Dell. They have a very, very strong lineup of AMD GPUs in those products. On MPU, we have a machine with Lenovo now on Z series, which is the FX processor, and this also has up to 3-screen Eyefinity setup, similar to what we have out here.
So my name is Neil Spicer. I previously ran the GPU sales for EMEA, and now I run the CPU sales. So I hope I can talk to you about the graphics as well. So you asked, the first question was, you have AMD and you have NVIDIA, and also what's coming. So as Omar said, as we've got on the stand here, we have the Radeon R295X2, the fastest graphics card on the planet. That recently came down in price. If you look at where it launched, where it is, it came down, and it's still the fastest card on the planet. With regards to the current generation, our board partners, so that's the AIB board partners, are running special promotions right now. So if you check out of any of the Sapphire, Asus, MSI, any of the key XFX, they are all running special promotions on the R280 and 290, including the X version. At the lower end of the stack, we're incredibly competitive. Currently in this market, a very hot product is the 5450, selling in good volumes. So up and down the stack, we have a very competitive lineup.
So, what can you tell me about the lower end VGA cards?
It's interesting actually, the lower end market, so as a graphics company, we always talk about the latest generation of what we've launched, and in AMD we have many pillars. So Eyefinity, as Omar said, is one, and what we have Eyefinity in the top end, we also carry in our low end stack as well. We have GCN in the high end. We talk a lot about Mantle, we talk a lot about new technology, and that's all with the latest generation. The previous generation, 5450, I can't remember the actual ASIC name of it, but it's probably 5 or 6 years old, something like that, and its competitor product is even older. But actually in this market where people need a graphics card for connectivity in terms of maybe dual DVI or what you need for your markets, it's incredibly hot selling down here. A lot of it is bundled on old generation CPU architecture. So old Intern AMD architecture where you need a discrete graphics card for the motherboard. That's where 5450 suits perfectly in this market.
And everybody now is talking about Mantle this and Mantle that. How do you do you now compare Mantle to something? Exactly. Let's say that it takes 12.
Great question, great question. So when Mantle was announced, it was, for me, one of the best things that's ever happened in terms of development of AMD graphics technology. As you have just said, if you compare it to DX, we are working with Microsoft very, very closely on DirectX 12. Mantle was the first release that we have done of an API, and I don't know if you know much about Mantle, but effectively it allowed the game developers to write between, let's say, the metal and the silicon. It allowed them to communicate the game a lot quicker. So Mantle was our first effort at that API, but it doesn't mean we're not working with Microsoft. Microsoft and AMD are huge partners together, and we're doing a lot of co-work together on DX12. But what Mantle brings to our graphics technology in terms of GPU, we are sharing that technology with our APU. So if you take Kaveri, when Kaveri was our launch at CES this year, so it's our latest and most powerful generation APU, that shares a lot of the architecture that we're using in our latest GPU products, Mantle being one. So as we launched Kaveri, it launched with 4 x86 and 8 GPU cores, so 12 compute cores. Combine that with Mantle, and when we launched we had Battlefield 4 running at optimal settings, so just to prove that what we launch in graphics in the GPU world, we're able as AMD to port that over to a traditional CPU world that's now moving into the APU generation.
Okay, so we spoke about now the games. Is the Mantle technology based on all the games? Meaning, for example, I can use it, but I can feel the power of Mantle. For example, playing a game like a Battlefield 4. Okay, in other games, Mantle is not optimized or is not being taking use of, or something like that. Actually, I get lots of questions about the Mantle in regards, is it game specific?
So Mantle, now correct me if I'm wrong, Mantle is now used in more games at this point of its life, let's say, than at the same point that DX11 had games. So when DX11 launched, obviously titles start using it, it's not on every title as soon as it launches. Mantle, I don't know the number, but is, I will get back to you with the total number. Yeah. But it's, there's more, the adoption rate is quicker than it has been on a latest DX version. But it's not just Battlefield 4, there are many games using Mantle. And one of the really cool things, obviously, with this GCN architecture is the merger between the console manufacturers, so PS4, Xbox, that are using the GCN architecture, and the PC client world, sharing GCN with AMD. Game developers can now write for both platforms because the GCN is shared between both architectures. But for sure, we should get back to you with how many games are now Mantle enabled, because that list is growing and growing and growing.
There is just one point. In Saudi Arabia, as I've been saying, games sell, for example, graphics cards. I make any configurations for my audience, always asking me how many frames do I get in Battlefield using an AMD card and using NVIDIA based for the card. Recently, I've been testing the new card, I think it's 285.
Yep.
In comparison, where does the 885 stand between the 280 and the 288?
So when we launched the 285, which is our internal codename Tonga, it launched what we thought was the right of the sweet spot product. One of the things we do as a graphics team in AMD is we look at the market, we look at the competitors, and we look at what the gamers and the users need. So when we pick a price point, it's taking consideration thermals, power watt, TDP, positioning of our competitor product, what does it bring to the market, and we pick the 285X right where it is to really be that sweet spot product. It almost sits right between the performance and enthusiast gamer, as you say, kind of below the 290, above 280, and it really hits our competition head on. And ultimately what people are looking at as users is what is the performance, what is the price, and what features and benefits do I get. So we've picked the 285, we're giving a whole ton of performance, and we're throwing in Never Settle, which is our game bundle, of all the AAA titles. So when you look at it from that point, what do you get for each segment? The 285 is getting very good feedback.
Everybody is asking me, okay, how does that review perform with all AMD components? For example, with AMD RAM and AMD system. Is there a solid performance in difference?
So it's a really great question. We have a lot of work between our business units. So if you could kind of picture AMD as a traditional AMD CPU company, and then you had, as you know, in 2006, 2007, AMD bought ATI for 5.4 billion, and the two companies merged, and that's why today we have an APU. But effectively you have still these two business units. There's a lot of collaboration now with our new computing and global business unit, headed up by a guy called John Byrne, to effectively really align these two business units. How do we get the best of our CPU architecture and the best of our GPU architecture and performance in APU? Part of that, as you may have recently seen, we now have Radeon memory, Radeon SSDs. So we have a lot of co-work between these different engineers to ensure that our products are talking to each other in the best way possible. And if you see many of our system integrators through Europe and worldwide and EMEA are now using AMD platforms as systems. Because ultimately as a system builder, what are you looking at is price performance.
Exactly.
I'm selling a PC for relatively fixed price, and what do I give my users the best benefit? And one of the really cool things we've seen over the last 2 years with APU is when you actually look at the benchmarks that people are using in press, so PC Mark 8, Basemark CL, when people are using what applications and benchmarks that are true to what they use their PC for, AMD is doing very well. It's not all about gaming. Gaming's in our DNA, of course, because we've got some fantastic graphics and gaming products. But our APUs, whilst we sometimes see some of our messaging is about gaming, it's not just that. It's also about workload, application. There's a really nice software product called LibreOffice, which is used by, I think, somewhere in the region of 70 to 80 million people worldwide. And that really benefits from APU. So as we've evolved and AMD and ATI effectively have become one company, we've formed this awesome bit of technology, APU. And APU is now becoming a term in the industry. If you look at many of our customers and companies, if you look at our business cards, it no longer refers to as CPU. It's referring to as MPU or microprocessor, and APU has become an industry term because it summarizes x86 traditional architecture, and obviously from our point, DX11 graphics on one bit of silicon.
What about the AMD RAM? I wanted from a long time ago to get my hands on it. Who is the manufacturer?
Of what, sorry?
For AMD RAM.
AMD RAM, oh okay, interesting question. So the actual memory modules is produced by a company called DataRam. DataRam is a global partner for us. They're an incredibly strong company in the server memory space, and we've partnered with them to bring memory modules certainly to the world. We're having some good success, like I say, is if you look at the system integrators, the AMD brand actually carries a very big play for them when advertising a PC to an end user. And because a lot of people have been aware of AMD for so many years and they see it in the console market and so forth, they've used the DataRam have effectively got the brand of the Radeon memory and are bringing it to market. If you'd like us to get you some samples, I'll happily do that. We'd love you to test them out and let us know what you think.
We have some samples in the office here.
And if you've got a Kaveri sample, an APU A10 7850K.
I got the 78.
If not, you've got to test the feature called AMD Memory Profile. And effectively, as your question was before, do your products work together? The extra performance you get out of the 7850 Kaveri using the high megahertz, I think it's the 2400 Kaveri memory or Radeon memory. The boost you get because of the AMD Memory Profile, I can't remember the exact percentage, but I'd love you to test that and write about it, because it's a real true alignment between an APU and memory.
I'm focusing on building a cheap, great LE systems. Can we say, for example, or in a nutshell, go for AMD?
I would, well, of course, I would say yes. I think I'd be gone if I didn't. So the PC, so I have two PCs at home. One of them I have a 7850 Kaveri. It's in a small form factor box that I use for media, but it's a nice, cool, neat chassis. And then I have a desktop. We're doing a bit of benchmarking and so forth. Personally, I have the new 8370E. So it's an energy efficient 95 watt, so low power. I have it down on a 900 series MSI motherboard and the 280X from Sapphire, dual 280X. So it's running perfect TDP, no problems, and for me it's the perfect setup because it's right on the cusp of enthusiast gaming. You can throw any game at it you want and it's going to play it without any problems, any applications because of the 8-core CPU. I have some Radeon memory in both systems, one in the Kaveri PC, one in the 8370 PC. So what I think is my message here is no matter what price points or what configuration you're building, if you look at the AMD stack, we have something for you. Take a low-end APU, take the A4 4000. Right now in this sort of region, you pick it up for below 30 bucks. That's an APU with DX11 graphics and x86 CPU. On a motherboard, you pick up for about $30, $35. So for between $50 and $60, you can buy a motherboard, a CPU that contains a graphics card built on the CPU. On the flip side, as Omar set out here, we have a 9590 water-cooled with a $1,000 295 X2 with water-cooled. And then in between, you have everything that scales in between. So really, when we look at it from a product positioning, we make sure at whatever price point the market needs, we have a compelling offer. And any samples or anything we can help you with, and if any of your forums want to talk about ideal configurations, we and our engineers would love to talk to them. We're heavily engaged in social media right now, and we're giving a lot of interaction towards what the market wants. There's three pillars to our focus right now. One is we're a product company. We've got some great IP and we've got some great products. Two is we've got to have strategic partnerships with press, end users, customers. And we've just got to execute to what we say we will do, and we've got to execute quickly. Those three pillars. So if your community want to talk about the perfect config, they want to give us some feedback, we'd love to talk to them.
We have a big elite forum, so there is a section for hardware. There are daily over 100 posts asking, is this configuration good? What do you think of this?
Oh wow, cool.
That would be very great because all of the focus now is on Intel or if somebody asks, said I want the PC for only 3,000
right.
else. Okay? That is around $1,500.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I want an AMD or I want
I've got it.
Yeah. And to be honest, most of it games they only know AMD through VGA cards.
Got you. So that's the sort of audience that's really, really important to us, because the firm belief that we and I have is the influencers influence everyone else. So I'm sure your audience are the IT consultants for their friends, family. I am for my mother. She says, I need a new laptop, what should I buy? And so you become the IT consultant to a lot of people. And I believe that people like your audience and your forum, they're the people we need to engage with. They're the people that we need to show the products we've got through your website. We need to convince them why. We need them to convince themselves, and then hopefully spread our message about our price and performance.
So I'm very, very thankful for all of you guys. It's been a really pleasure meeting you all. I think that's it.
Thank you for your time.